It was supposed to be the happiest week of my life. The ring on my finger still felt unreal, sparkling every time the light hit it. My fiancé, Mark, had promised me that no matter what my parents said, he would stand by me. He had no idea the kind of family I came from. No one did, because I'd spent years covering their cruelty with silence. But the night before my engagement party, that silence shattered. I walked into the living room, nervous but smiling, carrying a box of decorations I had bought with my own money. My mom looked up from the couch, her lips curling into that smirk she always saved for me. "Engagement? For you?" she sneered. "Who on earth would want to marry this?" She waved her hand at me like I was dirt on the floor. Dad didn't even look away from the TV. "It's all a joke," he muttered. "Mark will figure out what trash she is soon enough." Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. My younger sister Olivia laughed like a hyena, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "Don't worry, Mom, Dad. If Mark leaves her, he'll probably realize I was the one worth having all along." She winked at me, venom in her eyes. I wanted to scream, but instead I swallowed the lump in my throat. "You don't have to like it," I said quietly, "but tomorrow I'm celebrating with him, whether you show up or not." My mom's eyes glittered, cold and sharp. "Oh, we'll show up," she said. "Don't you worry." That night, as I prepared my dress, my nails, and the little details every bride-to-be fusses over, something felt wrong. I went downstairs for water and Mom handed me a glass. "Here," she said sweetly, far too sweetly, "to calm your nerves. You wouldn't want to embarrass yourself tomorrow." The last thing I remembered was Olivia's laughter. When I woke up, the stench hit me first. Mold, dust, something rotten. I blinked in confusion, my head pounding. I tried to sit up, but my body felt weak, heavy. My hand flew to my head, and that's when I realized my hair was gone. My long, dark hair, the one thing I'd always been proud of despite everything, was shaved clean. My scalp stung with tiny cuts. I stumbled to my feet, dizzy, my heart racing. Around me were broken boards, rusted tools, spider webs thick in the corners. It wasn't my room. It wasn't my house. It was an abandoned barn in the middle of nowhere. The door creaked open and light spilled in. My dad's silhouette appeared, broad and merciless. Behind him, my mom and Olivia stood with smirks plastered across their faces. "You really thought you were going to play princess tomorrow?" Dad growled. "We couldn't let you humiliate us like that. Better Mark sees what you really are, a bald, pathetic wreck." Mom laughed, her voice sharp. "No man wants a bride who looks like a cancer patient. Consider this a reality check." Olivia leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, eyes sparkling with cruelty. "I told you, sis, Mark deserves someone better. Someone who can actually make him proud, not drag him down with her weakness." I sank to my knees, my fingers trembling against my bare scalp. "Why?" I whispered. "Why would you do this to me?" Dad crouched down, his face inches from mine. His breath smelled like whiskey. "Because, girl, you were never meant to have anything good. Not love, not happiness, not respect. You're just the filler in this family, the ugly shadow standing behind your sister." Then they laughed. All three of them, as if I was nothing but a joke left to rot in that barn. The car engine roared outside. They slammed the door shut, leaving me in the dark with only their laughter echoing in my ears. Hours passed before I managed to stumble out. My dress was ruined, my hair gone, and my heart shattered. The engagement party was the next morning, and I had nothing, no strength, no dignity, no family. But as I caught sight of my reflection in a cracked piece of glass on the barn wall, something changed. The hollow girl staring back at me wasn't broken. She was dangerous. My parents thought they had destroyed me, but what they had done was give me a weapon, a rage so sharp it could cut through anything. That night, I didn't just plan how to survive. I planned how to make them beg. I walked out of that barn barefoot, weak and shaking. but something inside me had shifted. The betrayal didn't just sting. It carved something permanent into my chest. Each step I took back toward town, I thought of their laughter. My scalp burned from where they shaved me, but it was nothing compared to the fire in my chest. By the time I reached Mark's apartment, dawn was breaking. I knocked softly, terrified of what he'd say when he saw me. He opened the door, sleepy-eyed, then froze. His jaw dropped. "What happened to you?" Tears burned my eyes, but I forced the words out. "My parents drugged me. They shaved my head. They dumped me in a barn." Mark's face hardened. He pulled me inside and wrapped a blanket around me. "They did this? The night before our engagement party?" I nodded. My throat closed up. "They wanted you to leave me. They wanted me humiliated." He stared at me for a long moment, then brushed his thumb against my scalp. "You think this makes me love you less?" His voice was low, steady. "If anything, it makes me want to protect you more." Something inside me cracked, but it wasn't weakness. It was relief, and a strange kind of strength. For the first time, I had someone who wasn't afraid to see the worst of me. But that strength didn't erase the rage. If anything, it sharpened it. The engagement party came and went. I stayed hidden, refusing to walk into a hall where my parents would smirk at my shaved head like they had won. Instead, I sat with Mark, sketching out something much bigger, because I realized something. That day, my parents thrived on control. They fed off the image they had carefully built in the community. Generous, supportive, the perfect couple with the perfect daughter. Everyone adored them because no one saw the rot behind their smiles. They thought they could shave my head and dump me like garbage because they believed I had no voice. That's when the idea hit me. If they lived for their reputation, then that would be the thing I would destroy. But not by posting online, not by exposing them with recordings like some dramatic show. No, my revenge would be slower, tighter, and far more suffocating. I started quietly. First, I refused to return home. I cut contact completely, not even answering Olivia's mocking texts. At first, my silence was a victory for them. But then came the cracks. A week later, Olivia showed up at Mark's door. She leaned against the frame, pretending to be sweet. "Hey, sis," she said with that poisonous smile. "Listen, Mom and Dad are worried about you. You know, after your little meltdown." I stared at her. "Meltdown? They drugged me. They shaved my head." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're so dramatic. No wonder they never trust you with anything." I laughed, and for the first time, it scared her. "You'll see, Olivia. You'll all see. This isn't over." I closed the door in her face. Then I waited. I knew my parents were planning Olivia's big event next, her college showcase, the one they bragged about for years. The entire neighborhood was invited, politicians, businessmen, the church crowd. It was their golden ticket to prove Olivia was everything I wasn't. I showed up uninvited. My shaved head had started to grow stubble, but I didn't cover it. I wore a plain black dress, nothing glamorous. When I walked in, the room went silent. My parents froze, their fake smiles stiffening. Olivia's eyes widened like she had seen a ghost. "Who let her in?" Mom hissed under her breath. I smiled, wide and calm. "Relax. I'm just here to support my sister." Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Isn't that her daughter, the other one?" "She looks different." "What happened to her hair?" I didn't need to say a word. Every glance, every whisper dug into them. I saw Mom's hand tremble as she clutched her wine glass. Dad's jaw tightened. Olivia tried to smile for the crowd, but her eyes darted toward me every second. All I had to do was sit there. My presence alone made them unravel. When the speeches began, Dad cleared his throat, his voice shaky. "We are so proud of Olivia, our shining star. She is everything we could ever hope for in a daughter." That's when I stood. The entire hall turned to me. My heart pounded, but my voice was steady. "Funny, that's what you told me when you drugged me and shaved my head." Gasps filled the room. Dad went pale. Mom's glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. Olivia's smile crumbled. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need proof. The way their faces twisted, the way their hands shook, told the audience everything they needed to know. Their perfect mask cracked wide open. People began whispering louder, staring at them with disgust. A family friend muttered, "Did she just say drugged?" Another said, "My God, what kind of parents?" Dad tried to recover, his voice breaking. "She's lying. She's always been unstable." I laughed, low and sharp. "If that's true, then why do you look so scared right now?" The silence that followed crushed them harder than any screaming could. They rushed me out, but the damage was done. The whispers spread like wildfire. Invitations dried up. Their phones stopped ringing. Olivia's showcase, the event meant to crown her queen, became the night everyone questioned what kind of monsters my parents really were. Back at Mark's, I collapsed into his arms. "It started," I whispered, "and I won't stop until they choke on the life they tried to steal from me." For weeks after, I kept the pressure on. I attended every public event they tried to host, silent but present. My shaved head a reminder of what they did. I never shouted, never exposed them in dramatic speeches again. I just showed up. Each time, their smiles cracked more, their hands shook harder, their guests whispered louder. It was death by 1,000 cuts, and I savored every single one. The fallout from Olivia's showcase spread faster than I expected. For years, my parents lived off whispers of admiration, the perfect couple with the perfect daughter. But now, whispers carried poison. Neighbors crossed the street to avoid them. Church families didn't invite them to Sunday lunches anymore. Even Dad's golf buddies stopped answering his calls. The empire of image they had built so carefully was rotting from the inside. But this wasn't enough for me. I didn't just want their mask gone. I wanted them to feel the same suffocating loneliness they had buried me under my whole life. I wanted them to taste what it was like to be left with no one. It started with Olivia. She'd been their shining jewel, but after that night, people didn't clap for her the same way. The compliments turned hollow. Instead of glowing, she wilted under every side glance that whispered, "That's the one whose sister accused their parents." She came to me one afternoon, eyes red, pretending it was allergies. "You've ruined me," she spat, standing in the doorway of Mark's apartment. I tilted my head, calm. "No, Olivia, you ruined yourself the moment you picked up those clippers and laughed while Mom and Dad held me down." Her face twisted. She wanted to scream, but she didn't. For the first time, Olivia had no words. She left, slamming the door, and I knew the crown she wore so proudly had cracked. But the real strike came months later. My parents decided to host one last event, desperate to reclaim their place. It was their anniversary, 30 years of marriage bliss, as they liked to call it. They invited everyone, even distant relatives. It was their Hail Mary attempt to patch over the whispers, to prove they were still untouchable. I showed up, uninvited again, with Mark by my side. This time, my hair had grown in just enough to form a soft halo around my head. No wig, no scarf. I wanted them to see exactly what they had done and how I wore it like a badge. The hall was glittering, filled with flowers, golden cutlery, expensive wine. Guests murmured politely, though I noticed the tension. Everyone was here to watch, not to celebrate. My parents entered, hand in hand, their smiles brittle but forced. Olivia trailed behind them in a sparkling dress, her eyes darting nervously. When they spotted me, their faces drained of color. Dad's smile froze mid-air. Mom nearly stumbled in her heels. The whispers grew louder. I waited until the music died down. Then I rose. 30 years, I said, my voice cutting through the hall. 30 years of lies. The crowd hushed instantly. I turned slowly to face the guests. These are the people who drugged me, shaved me bald, dumped me in a barn like garbage, because my happiness would have distracted from their golden child. Gasps echoed. A woman in the front clutched her pearls. A man muttered, "Good Lord." I pointed at Olivia, whose face had gone crimson. "And this one?" She held the clippers. She laughed while they stripped me. Mom's voice broke. Stop it right now. I laughed, low and steady. Why? Afraid they'll finally see who you are? I pulled something from my bag. Not photos, not recordings, nothing digital. I pulled out the engagement dress I had bought months ago before that night. It was ripped, dirty, the hem still torn from the barn floor. I held it high. This is what I was meant to wear the night before they drugged me. My voice shook with fury. This was supposed to be my future, and they destroyed it with their own hands. I let the dress fall. The silence in the room was deafening, then a wave of disgust rippled through the guests. Someone stood and said, "You're monsters!" Another whispered, "I can't believe I let my kids near them." That was it. The room turned. People walked out, shaking their heads, muttering. A lifetime of reputation crumbled in a single night. My parents rushed forward, pale, desperate. Dad grabbed my wrist, his voice cracking. "Please, stop! You're killing us!" I yanked free, staring straight into his eyes. "Good. Now you know how it feels to be left for dead." Mom dropped to her knees in front of me, her mascara running. "We'll do anything. Please, don't leave us with nothing." The sight almost made me pity her. Almost. But then I remembered the sting of the clippers, the sound of Olivia's laughter, the sting of waking up on cold barn hay. And that pity burned away. I leaned down, close enough for only them to hear. "You wanted me erased. Congratulations. You erased yourselves." I turned and walked out with Mark, leaving them trembling in their own wreckage. From that night on, their lives spiraled. No invitations, no friends, no social standing. Olivia's future dimmed without the community backing her. My parents, once the center of attention, became the people everyone avoided. And me? I rebuilt. Slowly, quietly, but stronger than ever. I didn't need to scream or post or expose them to the world online. I had destroyed them in the one place they valued most, their stage. Their faces haunted me sometimes, pale and desperate, begging. But I never went back. They begged me for years later, knocking on my door, leaving voicemails filled with choked apologies. And I never once answered, because revenge wasn't in humiliating them for strangers. Revenge was letting them rot in silence, forgotten, stripped of everything they worshipped. And that was exactly what I gave them,